ASUU and IPPIS. We have quite a number of tweets that came in the course of our discussion. I will be taking them one after the other, but actually the tweets are quite long. Can you make your tweets as short as possible and precise? I'll be taking the tweet from Gashetu. That's 10. ASUU members are just egocentric members. If they don't register with IPPIS, they should be sacked. They don't have genuine excuse apart from innuendos. ASUU's story of working on payment application is fake news. Let them develop the app and sell it to companies to use first. Though the federal government has continually entered into agreements with the union since 2001, but the implementation of the terms is slow and in most cases requests are totally ignored, while the Nigerian students bear the brunt of this long-standing battle between both parties. Too bad.
Akejo Olagwaju tweets, now the platform, that's IPPIS, is flexible to address the need of any of the 12 structured salary scales in Nigeria. ASUU should be assured that it wouldn't erode the autonomy, but rather check multiple appointments going on in tertiary institutions and free more resources for research in the university system. As long as the government continues to renege on its agreement, university teachers strike will continue to be a reality. We implore the federal government and ASUU to come to a compromise because strikes are not the best option to resolve any rift.
And Ishaq Abdullah actually has questions. What makes academics not to be civil servants when they draw their remuneration from federal government? 2, the IPPIS platform is to eliminate decades of fraud in the personnel cost in Nigeria. 3, is collecting 2 to 3 salaries from different universities by lecturers not corruption? Let ASUU give us variable evidence from academic institutions in other climes.
Dele Jack Solomon, according to ASUU, IPPIS lacks the flexibility to address the peculiarities of the Nigerian university system. But if enrolling all federal universities on the IPPIS is to promote transparency and accountability in government expenditure, why not ASUU give it a trial first? Based on the technicalities and legality of enrolling IPPIS, I doubt if ASUU will be able to stop the federal government from enrolling it in IPPIS because ASUU is an integral part of the service system paid by the federal government. We want federal government and ASUU to come to an agreement for the sake of the students.
And Josh PhD tweets, IPPIS is a good idea, but why rush to enforce it? I think gradual implementation should be the way forward.
Chris Simeon, ASUU should stop arguments and get enrolled onto the IPPIS. In this kind of situation, it is all about conflict of interest, and the federal government should use conflict resolution strategies like integration and compromise to solve the matter.
And Badamasi Haruna Adamu tweets, the antagonism between them is just a conflict of interest.
Now, Francis Obi, the one thing ASUU is running away from is that they don't want to be exposed. Please, for crying out loud, every organization should join IPPIS, including the defense. That's already there, because there's so much fund coming in that they mismanage. If not, let IPPIS be scrapped for all.
And Mohammed Kabina tweets, the argument is lack of flexibility of IPPIS, but ASUU is inflexible too. Why can't they change with time? In class, they emphasize on science to provide efficiency and effectiveness if used in the civil service, but they are running away from it today.
Now, Shetima Khalifa tweets, I see no logic for ASUU to reject IPPIS because they are the nation's hope and are paid by government. ASUU and universities management should request for more time to explain the fault lines to government and members. It should be all-inclusive except defense and security for obvious reasons, internal checks.
And Obola Babs tweets, what's ASUU afraid of? If there is nothing sinister or surreptitious members engage in, there is practically nothing to be afraid of. The reality is that many of them teach in many federal government tertiary institutions, and they know IPPIS will discover multiple salaries that accrue to them. The way this issue is going, ASUU as a body will become weakened in months to come. Already, there's a breakaway faction which has issued directive for members to be enlisted on IPPIS. How much longer can all of its members stay without salary, especially those with no extra income?
All right,
Well,
Jume, this is a very lengthy tweets that we have taken.
Quite some lengthy tweets.
Yes, and well, of course, you have already advised our viewers to keep their tweets short,
precise,
and sharp. Okay, let's, Professor Biodun Oguyemi, we saw you on the screen a while ago. Let's return to you so that you can respond to the issues that are on the table following the explanations provided by Mr. Olusegun and the comments also coming from Jide Ojo right here. One, just to indicate part of the areas of interest we'd like you to also speak on. Mr. Olusegun said that, one, when the IPPIS comes into effect for academics in federal universities, there will be a restriction to one visiting offer, as it were, or one visiting appointment, obviously to another federal university. Is this an issue that ASUU is not comfortable with? Because, you know, in the larger federal civil service, federal public service rather, you cannot have double appointments. But for purposes of academia, yes, they say restriction to one visiting appointment. It hasn't clarified whether that restriction would also apply to if you are visiting a state university or you are visiting a private university, and there are many of them right now. That's one leg of my question. The other leg is also what was raised in the tweets, and which we have also been reading in the newspapers, that Konwa, which is a breakaway faction, as it were, of ASUU, is urging its members in some of the universities where their members have signed up to Konwa to go register. What's your reaction to that?
Well, thank you very much. First, let me clear my submission about the director of IPPIS. I was trying to establish his connection with World Bank. He has said that he's a Nigerian and he has lived in Nigeria and so on. But let him deny it before the camera that he has never worked for World Bank. And when we say people are agents of these international finance agencies, we are also saying that Nigerians working in Nigeria, but who have links with World Bank, and that has been proved over time. As for people or academics working in many universities, I think we have to put it in proper perspectives. There are some of these links that are actually solicited by new universities. On a daily basis, we are creating new universities. We are not thinking of those who will provide services in those universities. I mean, academic services, teaching, research, and other services in the universities. So we are aware that there are instances where universities, new universities, will come to older universities to come and seek help. Nigerians are not talking about proliferation of universities. Proliferation of universities are doing a lot of damage to the Nigerian university system. Talk of private, talk of state, talk of federal. Now we are creating University of Transportation, University of Environment, University of ICT. Where are the human resources for manning them? That is the first thing about working in more than one universities. But another thing is that there are already universities that have come up with policies on not working in more than one university. I can give you the example of Bayero University, Kano. I'm aware that there is a policy in that university that says that you cannot work in more than one university outside your place of primary employment. And that university also should not be more than 200 kilometers in radius to where you are working. So there are ways of taking care of all of this rather than making so much hue and cry. It's like making mountains out of molehills. When people come to seek support, in fact, some lecturers will say, before I can take this offer you are giving me, go and seek clearance from my department, go and seek clearance from my university. So our members are not doing things that are illegal, and they should not criminalize what they are doing to assist other universities. There are scarce areas in Nigeria today. Every department teaches I mean, almost every conventional university, you have Department of Physics. How many experts in physics, and not to talk of specialized areas like nuclear physics or health physics, do we have in Nigeria? How many experts do we have? So we should put things in perspective. There are surgeons, neurosurgeons, who are in high demand. Universities beg them to support the training of new medical doctors in those specialized areas. So we should put these things in perspective. I'm talking about sabbatical. There is nothing illegal about sabbatical. It is part of the condition of service. And that is where employment in the universities is different from employment in civil service. Civil servants do routine things. The basis of sabbatical is that you go to another university for peer comparison, for peer review, and you share knowledge. Let us go back into the history of scholarship. Scholars in the olden days, they were known for moving from one university to the other, dispensing knowledge, facilitating knowledge, creating innovative ideas. That is the basis of scholarship. And that is why we are saying scholars should be treated in their own special categories. This is why you see scholars in Europe and America who are designated visiting scholars in more than 2-3 universities. There's nothing criminal about it. But because our own obsession is about material gains, and we analyze every issue, even what we contribute to our national development in terms of naira and kobo, we have reduced ourselves to people who only assess people on the basis of income, on the basis of what material gains they gain. Scholars do this all over the world, and Nigerian scholars should not be stigmatized. Well, I've heard some of the comments made by some other Nigerians. Maybe we need to put our case in some clearer perspective so that people can know. And that will also, speak to our students. Our students should not reduce themselves to local students. In an age of internationalization, students in Nigeria should be able to move to any other part of the world and fit into the system. People can say we are not giving them the best, but I can tell you confidently that we are not doing too badly because our products, they move out of this country and they excel.
Okay, Professor Olafiyenti, you've been raising a lot of issues. You've not really answered the question that Kingsley asked you. ASUU is shaky. The center can no longer hold. Based on your arguments, the other faction of ASUU is saying they are going for IPPIS. Why are you, as ASUU, resistant? Since you already have factions and students are complaining, like we read on the newspaper review, they chased some ASUU members out of the IPPIS registration center in ABU Zaria. So since the center cannot hold, can't there just be a level playing ground, a center that you can meet with IPPIS to ensure that this happens? We're running out of time. Briefly.
Students are not chasing out lecturers. Where we have seen some of these shenanigans playing out are places where students are sponsored. Like what happened at the University of Port Harcourt yesterday, where students were sponsored to go and attack lecturers who are meeting peacefully, who are deliberating on affairs that concern their membership. That is an abomination, actually. But we know those who are behind all of these sponsored cases. We are talking of factions. ASUU does not have a faction. But people who are aggrieved because of some disciplinary measures that we meted against them for violating our constitution, they are the people behind this rebellious act, and they're trying to pull down the union. But the union is up to the task. Every union will always have this kind of challenge because we know that it is very difficult to get 10-20 people to agree on all matters all the time. So they are not beyond resolution. So when people keep talking about one faction called one name, I want to know where that name is registered. Because it's like the media hype over this factionalization, this breakaway group. What some vice chancellors are doing now is to encourage that factionalization.
Okay, Professor Guyemi, as we said, we are pressed for time. We want to come back here to our studios. You talked about that. We read several weeks ago that the CONUA, that is the Congress of University Academics, has actually filed an application for registration. So that's the status of the registration is unknown to us at this particular moment. But your points and the issues that you have raised have been noted. Jide Ojo, let's get your closing thoughts, of course, as well as reaction to the points that have come up on the table.
Well, thanks for that opportunity. I think ASUU needs to watch its back. What happened to NLC is what is going on with ASUU now. You know, before we have only NLC. Today we have NLC, TUC. In fact, another faction, as led by Ajero, has also come up. So, if they are not flexible, I am of the opinion that two things. As Director here has explained, there are contract staff whose payment of their contracts are taken care of not on the IPPIS but by a different means of payment agreed to by the governing council as well as the BOSA, the VC and all of that. So if you are hiring people for 3 months, I don't see the need for you to be on IPPIS. If you are hiring people for 6 months, I don't see the need for you, because IPPIS is actually made for people who are going to be paid pension, who are going to be paid gratuity after the retirement from office. So I think we should not confuse everything that, okay, because of we are hiring 3 people for 3 months from UK or from Germany, then the IPPIS is going to distort the employment and appointment and all of that. I think IPPIS, from the understanding I have, is meant for full-time workers, academics of the university. So, having said that, the other point is, can we just give it a trial? If those who want to be on IPPIS will be allowed to voluntarily be, those who want to exempt themselves can go on with the trial database that they are trying to have. Maybe by the time they have the database ready and government looks at it and with superior arguments, they may migrate everyone to that platform. But I think nobody should be persecuted for those who are willing and ready to be on IPPIS for obvious reasons. Not every one of the academics are well endowed. If their salaries are not paid for the next 3-6 months, family dislocation, social disorientation comes in. So I think that flexibility should be there. ASUU should not go about enforcing and chasing people who want to go on IPPIS, should not be going to chase them away from those registration centers. This is an academic environment, mature people, so let them be. But I think ASUU needs to show some measure of flexibility in handling this issue. They have been on it for 5-7 years, so it's better to have a win-win solution fashioned out for all of them.
Thank you so mumuch, Mr. Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst. It's been a pleasure having you, as always.
Thanks for having
the
me.
program. And we also thank Olufeyinti Olusegun, Director, Integrated Payment and Personal Information System, Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. Thank you. It's like you really want to say something.
Yeah, I want to say something that...
Very briefly, very briefly.
Actually, we welcome whatever ASUU want to design for Nigerians. After all, the Stanford University in California, they develop what has become a Silicon Valley today. So they, in their research, they should know they owe Nigerians a lot of things. So, and at the same time, salary is personal. Employment is based on individual, not on union-based. So individuals were engaged by government. The individuals that were engaged are the ones that will receive salary. So one thing I want to let ASUU realize is that there's nowhere in the world where an employee dictates to his employer how he or she should be paid. I think this is not possible in any of the private universities in Nigeria. If ASUU will be able to dictate to any proprietor, oh, this is the way I should be paid. So I think they are just making an argument because we have had solutions for every peculiarity they have.
All right, Mr. Olufayinti Olusegun, Director, IPPIS, Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, would like to thank you for being part of our discussion this morning.
Thank you,
and from our Port Harcourt Network Center, we're joined by the National President of ASUU, Professor Biodun Ogunyemi. Professor Ogunyemi, sorry, you know, it's a time-based. We appreciate the fact that you've been with us. We may have to, I know that you are itching to say something, but I don't know how much time the director is going to allow us. We may have to return to this subject matter at some point, and we hope you oblige us. But if there's anything you want to say, can you say that very briefly?
Okay, yes, this other set of people that are not to be paid by IPPIS, through IPPIS, where will the money come from when government is not funding the universities? Then again, you are saying that we are not working in the interest of the students. But our students should know that the quality of university education they have also depends on those who come from outside Nigeria to help us. Thank you very much.
Right. On that note, our final appreciation to Professor Biodun Ogunyemi, National President ASUU, from our Port Harcourt Network Center. All right, so that does it for Good Morning Nigeria today. We'd like to thank you for tuning in. We're back tomorrow, same time, 7 in the morning. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Jomo Yusuf. Enjoy your day.